Excuse me, Mrs. Zara, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mrs. Zara.
Okay. So this is what we learned yesterday. So we learned about the shortcuts using Alt key and also lookup functions. And under that, we learned how to use index, match, and combining index and match, and also pivot tables. So the challenging part was the lookup functions, I presume. So in this cheat sheet, I have included a little bit of summary of how to do it. And then it will be helpful for you to get an understanding. So about the shortcuts. So when it comes to the shortcuts, I hope you have learned using the Alt function. And then not only with Excel, you can use it with any Office function, including Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, etc. So you just have to press Alt, and then after that, you have to press these keys. These keys are going to appear. Once you get familiar with the keys and all, you just don't have to remember them all. It's just, they're there, okay? So rather than using Control, Shift plus functions, it is pretty much easier to use this because you don't have to keep the shortcut in your mind always. So then we went ahead and cleaned our dataset. So when cleaning the dataset, we first used conditional formatting, which is in the Home tab, to check for duplicates. And then we went to the Data tab and removed the duplicates, which were in our dataset. So this is actually an important part because these datasets are generated most of the times. These data come from people. So imagine if you have in your office, you are doing let's say a sales like a store. So the cashier is entering the data, or maybe some other data entry person. So most of the times human related errors are bound to be occurred. So they are going to enter like duplicate order IDs, maybe the same entry can be like copy pasted. Likewise, there are going to be errors. But when we do the analysis, we can't take those errors into our account, because if we do that, then our analysis is going to deviate from the accurate result. So that's why it is so important to check the duplicates and remove the duplicates. Okay, now we have cleaned the data set. So what are we going to do next? So as you saw yesterday, the data set, it doesn't come with the labels always. So if it has like I think we had 5,000 data rows, but in the industrial scale, the number of rows goes up to, I think maybe it exceeds sometimes 20, like 2,000, 4,000, not 2,000, 4,000. I mean, it is more than 5,000. Okay, like sometimes it has like many rows likewise. So you have to freeze the rows and columns. So you can use the view tab and then go to the freeze panes and freeze top rows and columns likewise. So by doing that, it allows you to navigate through the data set without getting distracted by the column names. Because if you scroll and you can't see the top row, you don't know what it is about. Sometimes if there are like text columns, you can identify them by the data, but that's why it is always, it's a good practice, and it also saves time. And then again, I used tables for most of the analysis. I mean, I could have used the range without using the tables, but the thing is, when we are not using a table, you have to put the range with the absolute referencing, which I'm going to teach you today. And you have to be extra accurate. But since we are human, we can't be always sure about, putting the, sometimes a tiny detail could have been forgotten. So that's why it's always better to put a table so you don't have to worry about the ranges and other related errors. So actually it's a nightmare, because if you don't put the correct range, then it's going to end up as an error. So you have to then go back to your formulas, and then you have to find the root cause of the errors, which is going to be so time consuming. So it's always best to create a table, and then first you have to go select the data range. And if there are titles, it's okay, you can just create the table right away. But if there are no titles, then you have to go and label your data accordingly. Okay, next. So the alter functions, we just press the alter, and then we just followed what we want. Okay, so you don't have to remember them all, but when you practice it regularly, it's going to you get some sort of familiar with it. So without looking at it, you will know that H is for home and N is for insert, likewise. So please use that alter key with PowerPoint, with Word, and also with Outlook. If you are using more Office tools, you can also use those functions with them. Okay, now we are getting to the lookup functions part. So yesterday we discussed what lookup functions do, and also the common lookup functions and errors, and also the champion lookup. I call this champion lookup functions because those are too easy and they don't give the errors that normal lookup functions would give, like VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. Those are good, but when you work with big data sets, it's difficult to analyze with those functions. So that's why I use index and match, because it always delivers the accurate answer. Okay, so also we discussed yesterday, why do we use lookup functions? So lookup functions help us when we know the fragment of information about them, and then we don't know the full picture about the data set we are going to analyze. So for an example, yesterday we discussed this scenario. So we want to find a person's house, but we know his name, the city he lives, and the road. But those information alone are not sufficient for us to find the person's house. So we need the house number too. So the lookup functions are like that. So metaphorically, it helps us to find the house number. And moving on, this is another context. So like previous scenario, imagine this case. You're a nosy neighbor. Okay, you just want to know everybody who's in your neighborhood. And you know the city you live in, and the road, and the next door address, everything. But you need to find that person's name. Okay, so lookup functions are also like that. If you know all the location related data, and if you want to find the name of that data point or that person, then there's a separate lookup function for that. Okay, this is how it happens. So the match function is what we use to find the location. So this is my case. So these are some random names. These names might seem familiar, but these are just random. So we want to find the road number of Sirisena. So these are the data that we have. So, and also we have another data set here. That's where I have put the formula. Okay, so now you can see the match function there. You have to find the lookup value and the lookup array and the match type. So what we have to put is, lookup value is what we are going to look for. Who we are going to look for? We are going to look for Sirisena because that's our goal. So the lookup value is Sirisena. And I have used, what do you call them? quotation marks or something like these two little quotation marks. I have put those. Then that is because Sirisena is a text format. If there's a number format, you don't have to use these markings. Okay, so I have put that. And then lookup array. Lookup array is where he is going to be. That means from B6 to B6 is from that left side picture. So B6 to B9. So that is the name resides. So that is where it's going to be. And we are going to look for Sirisena in that area. And we need the exact person. Hence, we have to put 0. That's how match goes. So if we put that formula, then it's going to show the number as 1 because, number as 2 because the row number is 2. Okay, that is the first scenario. Now this is the second one. So now we have to find the creepy neighbor's name. So index function is going to help you with that. Remember, match is always associated with the location and index is associated with the name. So we have to find the name of that person. So we know the row number and also we know the column number. In the second, like in the right side picture, I have put the column numbers and all. So you can see. And then we can use the below function. So we know the row number as 1. We know the column number as 1. And then we know the range it's going to be. So if we put that, then we are going to get the name. Like I have put 6x's as the name because we don't know the name. So it's going to show us the name, which is Somapal. Okay, now we discussed the functions of the index and match separately. And now it's this is the fun part, which is the combining part. So in real life, we don't get all the information and then you don't get the guidelines, what to do and what not to do. Instead, you just get the question or the maybe you get the data set only and then you have to form the questions and then you have to give the answers as well by looking at that data set. So this is what happens when we need to find a person. We don't know his name and we don't know the location as well. But there are data which may be helpful for us, but those are like two different data sets. So we have to cross-refer both data sets and get what we need to find a single set of information. So in one data set, we have the name and the location, and the other data set, we have house numbers and the city, likewise. Okay. So this is how it's going to be. Because we need the name, we are going to put index, and then inside that, we are going to put a match function. Okay, now this is how it happens. So we type index and the array and the row number and column number in a normal index function. And in this part, array is what is the data set, what is the, like it's like this. If you want to put a name, where is that name resides, like that, okay? So now there's a location part as well. So we have this unknown location part. For that, we are going to use match because match always returns a location. So in match, we have lookup value, lookup array, and match type. So by combining these two, we are getting this kind of a formula. So the first part is the array of the value we need to add. that is this array part. And then we start the match function. In match, we have lookup value. That means the value we need to find out. And then there's lookup array. Lookup array means the array where the lookup value resides in. So this lookup value is going to be in some kind of a column. So that column should be the lookup array. And then the match type. Since we need the exact match, we are going to put 0. So actually this is it. So I think it's pretty simple when you look at this way, but when you are going to apply it, it's a little bit difficult, but if you keep practicing, you can get yourself into it and then just get things done more easily. Okay, I have, if you are talking about more about this index and match, unlike VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, this function rarely leads to errors. And in the VLOOKUP, it can only look to the left, which means if we are going to put a formula in column B, it can only look in the column A, which is left to column B. It can't look for that value in the column C. But when you get data sets, that doesn't come in that order always. And it is extra time if you are going to sort it out in that way. So it's not a good practice. That's why I always recommend index and match instead of VLOOKUP because it's efficient and also accurate. And also this may sound a bit difficult at first, but you'll get it. You'll get familiar with it. If you practice, then it's actually pretty easy. So if you are looking for further understanding, I have also mentioned Leela Garani's YouTube channel. She's awesome. She explains pretty well. And if you are looking forward to learn it, you can just go to YouTube and browse her channel. So that is our yesterday's lessons. Do you have any questions related to that? I can help you. Please comment in the chat box so I can get to know where you struggle and I can help you. No questions? Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. Shall we discuss the yesterday's assignment then? Or shall we move forward with today's content? Okay. Freezing cell part. Freezing cell part, I'm going to open my sales record tab. Let me just open it. All right. I hope everyone can see my Excel. Okay. Now, if you want to freeze the top row, you just have to select all this data and then you have to go to the View tab. And in that, there's a function called freeze panes. In that, you have to select, since we are going to freeze the top row, you can choose top row. See, even though I scroll, that first row is frozen. And there are like 3 functions. So imagine if you get something. So I'm going to unfreeze this. I'm going to press Alt W and F, and then I'm going to unfreeze it. So if you put unfreeze, then it literally unfreezes. Okay, now there's another function called freeze panes. That means if you have placed your active cell somewhere, it's going to freeze like this. I'm going to use the borders, okay? Just let me use the borders. Okay. Now imagine if you're going to place your active cells on B2 and put weave and then freeze panes and freeze and go to freeze panes, it's going to freeze like as in the borders. So it's going to give you an L-shaped kind of a freeze. Okay. Let me show you. See, it freezes in the vertical way and also in the horizontal way as well. This is also pretty important. And also you can always go to weave and then unfreeze. Is it clear? Okay, shortcut for it. You have to press Alt W and then F. You don't have to memorize it, just put Alt and then go to the View tab and then F. F4. Okay, F4 Umandati. Is it regarding that locking the cells like absolute and reference? Do you are you talking about this? Okay. In the next part, I'm going to talk about this. That is under absolute and relative referencing. All right. Do you want me to discuss yesterday's assignment, or shall we move on?
Aki, it's better if you can like discuss the assignment because most of have asked me about how to do some parts of the assignment.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, so I have this is the original data sheet, so I think I have to just copy and just give me a little bit of time so I can. Okay, it's already there. So first I'm going to create a table because tables are always better. For that, I'm going to press Control and T. I select the data range and then I press Control T and then I create the table. Okay. And now I go to sheet 2 as sheet 1 as well. I'm going to name this as A. And then I'm going to create another table because this is going to be useful. Fine. Now, what we wanted, what I asked you to do was, I wanted to give me a little bit of a dynamic dash, not a dashboard. It's like, yeah, this is pretty useful when you are creating dashboards in professional I think there was some kind of a technical issue. So this you are going to enter manually, and then the regions, country, and the items are going to appear automatically. So for an example, I'm going to just choose a random order ID just to explain it better. So I'm using this one, and I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Shows as decimals because it's too long. So you just have to adjust the cell. So for our reference sake, I'm going to put a color to this so I can easily find it. Okay. Now we have to find the region, and we know we have to find, we have to use index and match. So what does match do? Match find out where this order ID is placed, okay, in this data set. And we know the order ID should be in this order ID column. But what we don't know is the row number, okay? So we have to find the row number because we already know the column number. So that means we know the general location. We are looking for the exact location of that order ID we have chosen. So first I'm going to use the match function. Let's do that. And I will put here, because it's also related to the region, I am going to name this as match. Okay. So the lookup value is this one. This is what we want to find. I'm going to put it as that. And I'm just using this word. I'm going to explain it later. I am going to lock it. That means I just want the only amount in this G6 cell, not G7, not G5, only G6. So for that, I press F4. There's something wrong with my keyboard. Let me try it again. And we know where it's going to be. It's going to be in this column because, this column, because order ID should be in that column. We know the general location. So this is the general location. Okay. And we have to find that exact person, exact order ID, and therefore 0. And then we are going to press enter. It's in the row 5. So we know the order ID is going to be in that row 5, right? So the row 5 starts from here because it's going to disregard the first row because it only contains the titles. So I'm going to go to the row 5. This is what we have been looking for. Okay, now imagine if we go through this row, we are going in somewhere in this row, there's going to be the region. Okay, and region is what we are looking for, right? So we know that the region related to this number, it can't be in another row, right? All the data related to this number is in that exact column, exact row. That's why, and we know all the information related to region is in this general area. And we know this is in this row. And if we consider the intersection, we can get the answer, right? Is it clear? So this is the answer if you do it manually, okay? I'm sorry. Let me put another color. Okay, so this is the answer if you do it manually. We found out the row number, and we went along with that, and then we find we found the region, because the region can't be in that country column, right? So it has to be in the region column, and then we got the answer. So this gives the location, but we want the name. So therefore we need the index function combination. So I'm going to put index. And what is the array? This array is where, how do I say it? It's where the region lives, okay? It's in this domain, okay? Now I'm going to put it as the region. Now I'm going to put a match because we have to find the location. And this is what we are looking for. So I'm going to lock it.
Miss Hasara, I think you're on mute again.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yeah.
Okay. So what did you miss? Okay, I'll go through it again. So we are going to find the country, right? So what we need to index is the country tab, and then we are going to match the order number, and order number lives in the order column, and we need the exact number. So I put 0, and I'm going to close the parentheses one time and then another time because there are two functions, and then enter. The country is Sri Lanka. Oh, what a coincidence. Okay, now we have to find the item. It's the same thing. I'm going to put index, and I have to look for the item. So it's going to be in this item type, and I'm going to match. I'm going to look for this value. So I'm going to lock it, and then I'm going to look for that value in this area. And then I have to find the exact match. So 0, and then close parentheses, and then close the other set of parentheses, and then enter. The item is next. So let's try to change this. Let's get this number and put it there. It changes, right? If we take this and put it there, it automatically changes. Okay. Is it clear now? Come on, I need some feedback. Is it clear? Okay, I'm going to assume that it was clear. Fine. Okay. Now let's move on to the pivot table part. So yesterday we removed that revenue parts from this data set. So we have to include those parts. But the thing is, we don't know whether they are in order or not. That's why we have to enter those things using the index and match function. Because if, let's say, for an example, I'm going to sort it from A to Z. So this is not the same order as it was before. But when we copied it and pasted it, we use the previous order. So now if we copied this and pasted it, it's going to give us wrong information. So therefore, since order ID is a common column, we have to put an index and match function using that common field. This is pretty important because this is what happens in the professional environment. Sometimes you get employee IDs and some other sort of information. And then you get another data sheet and the only common field that you get is the employee ID. So you have to use employee ID to create a single data sheet. You can't do it manually because sometimes some organizations have like 15,000 employees. So if you are going to do it manually, then you have to hire a separate team just for the data entering parts. So that is not how we do it. So I'm going to enter the revenue here. So this is why I love to use tables, because if I have to put like one formula there, it's automatically going to autofill, like it's going to autofill because you don't have to drag it or copy paste. You don't have to do anything. The table does it for you. So we are going to enter the revenue. So what we need is index and we need to enter the total revenue. So the revenue is going to be in this area and we need to match. We need to match this number. We need to find this number in here, sorry, not the way in here. And we need the exact match clause. I need to enter the total revenue and I needed to match the order ID with this order ID. And then I need the exact number. And then I'm going to put 0 for that and then close the parenthesis and then enter. There you go. All the data are there. Now I'm going to create a pivot table because what we need to find is the region-wise revenue. So I'm going to click on this, alter N because it's under insert, and then I'm going to press V because it's under pivot table. V is for pivot table. And then you have select the table or range. Since we have already created a table, you don't have to give the ranges. But if you haven't, you have to go back to this and go and select everything, and it's a hassle. So always use a table. So you just have to click on the table and it automatically shows the table number as well. So we need to create it in a new worksheet because we need it to be more clear. So I'm going to put, okay. Now we have all the field titles here. Now I'm going to put region in as a row. There we have the regions. What we want is the revenue. Now we have the revenue tab and we are going to put it here. Now you have the revenue of all the regions. and this is sum of revenue, because each order ID has a different revenue. And if we get the sum, obviously it's going to be a large number. So I think it's accurate because it has to be accurate. So for Asia, I'm a bit like, I don't know how to read this number. Like, that's why you have to use commas. Okay. It's like 920 millions. Okay, so that is the total revenue generated from Asia. Hanim Mohammed says no. Hanim, did you understand the index function thing?
I believe it was for the previous one.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Hanim, I said
cool.
no.
Yeah, Hanim, is it this one?
Hanim, you could unmute yourself and feel free to speak.
Okay, all right. Hanim, what we did here was we used a combination of index and match. So we had to find out this region, the country, and the item, which is related to this order ID, which we are going to enter manually. So what we did was we use the index match. I'm going to type it again here. So this is index. Array means the place what we are looking for, like what we are looking to enter is going to be. It's in the region column because we are looking forward to enter the region of this order ID. So the array we need to enter here is the region. So we go back to our 5,000 sales records tab, and then we select region. And now we have to match, comma, match. What we need to match is this number. We have to look for this number. And I'm going to lock it. We have to look for this number in this column because it's the same. It's going to be here somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be, but I know it's going to be in this column. And I'm going to select that column. And then I need that exact order number. Therefore, I'm going to put 0. Then I close parenthesis twice because for match, I have to close it once. And then for index, I have to close it once. Then you get the region. I think you can refer the cheat sheet I have shared, and then you can practice it. And also, please go browse Leela's channel. She will explain it further. Could you please excuse me for like 2 minutes? I just... So could you please try it on your own in the meantime, and then put it in the chat box. If you have encountered any problem, just try to do it on your own, what I just went through. And please put the questions.
So if any of you have further questions, if you all are confused, please feel free to put the questions either in the chat, or once she's back, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. And in the meantime, do try these out. And if there are any practical issues that may arise, please feel free and raise those questions, because you will always go back to the YouTube channel and look into her as well. But please feel free to ask the questions from Hasara herself.
I'm sorry, it's a busy day. So again, thank you for your patience. So,
We do understand, Hasara. I mean, it's your special day, so we understand.
No, I mean, okay, I'm sorry, but it's your valuable time. I shouldn't. Okay, anyway, so now shall we move on to the next part? I hope it's pretty clear. I'm going to go to the absolute referencing part. So if you have any questions, just we have 4 minutes until 5:30.
Okay, someone's asking what's the channel you mentioned in Leila?
It's in the cheat sheet. She or he can refer the cheat sheet. I have put it in the last slide. Kanchana,
I believe you got your answer.
It's in the last slide of the cheat sheet. You can always refer that. Okay, let's start with absolute and okay, no, you still have 4 minutes. Quickly try to find whether you can find the unit, like whether you can put the cost. Okay, let's see. Okay, just try whether you can find the total cost using a pivot table. And if you could, just put it in the chat. We can move forward after that. Just like I did find the revenue, try to find the total cost of each region. Because that's what kind of questions that you'll be getting. If your boss asked like, what is the revenue of Sri Lanka for snacks division, you have to give it like maybe in 2 minutes, maybe in 1 minute, maybe you'll have like 30 seconds to answer that. So just find out the total cost for each region. Use the same method. Just try whether you can do it. So I just wanted to know just any short key when you want to enter something into the second line within the same cell. Netme, it works in my laptop. Did you place the cursor correctly? I'm asking Netme's question. Okay, so you place the cursor correctly, but you still don't get the thing, right? Okay, it is okay. Just let me try it once again and then I'll get back to you. Were you able to do that? Getting the total cost? Please put yes in the chat box so we can continue. Okay, you can try it later if since you do have the data set with you. So let's move on to absolute and relative referencing. Hello. Can you see my screen now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on to the relative referencing. So relative, when we are using the term relative, it's always mean that it has a quality of moving along. If we change the place, it's going to, if you are using relative cells, like when using the formula, when we change the active cell, it's the related formulas and the related cells that has been referenced are going to change accordingly. So it's like this. So we have the regions and the count of order IDs. That means the number of orders that have been placed. And then we have average unit price. So if I'm going to get total revenue, we can just like, let's just say approximate total revenue, because we are going to multiply these two. So we can just get an revenue approximately by multiplying these two. Okay, so if we want to get the same thing for these as well, we don't have to go and type the formula for all these rows, but we can simply drag it. And it's going to show the data accordingly. So for an example, if we want the approximate total revenue for Australia and Oceania, then we have to multiply C6 by D6, right? But, no buts actually. So it's also going to show the same thing, right? Because we are using the relative referencing. That means we have just put the cells like this, and then we have dragged it down. So we haven't locked any of the cells. It's just that. But let's just say if your boss wants to find, like he wants to find out the revenue percentage of these regions, then according to mathematics, we know that in order to get a percentage, we just have to divide the region's revenue by the total, right? And the total is here. Okay, I'm just going to bold it. Right, I'm going to bold this as well. Sorry. Okay, so we need revenue percentage. And we know we have to divide this by this total amount. And then we can change the data format into percentages. So I'm going to put it as okay, entered. And since I have already worked by autofilled function, I'm just going to use it. Okay. Now what went wrong here? It doesn't show, but it worked fine with this. What is the matter with this? Anyone? Okay. So the issue is it's going to do, since this is a computer, it doesn't have the brains as a human. So it's going to do the same thing like it does here. It's simply, since here we divide this by the red thing, and we just went down, like we dragged the cursor down. So the computer expected, okay, he's going to drag it down. So what I have to do is I just have to go find out this cell and then divide it by here. But we know we can't divide anything by 0. That's why the error appears. But so what we have to do is we have to fix this value. We have to fix the column and also the row. So in order to fix things, we use the dollar mark. We use the dollar mark. So not only we have to fix the column, we also have to fix the row. So therefore, I'm going to put, it's in E12, I'm going to put a dollar mark here. So it's going to lock the row. Sorry, lock the column. Column E is locked. Now I have to lock the row as well. So I'm going to lock the row by putting a dollar mark in front of the row number. Okay. Now I'm going to move down. There you go. I think it is accurate now because even though it is going down, I mean, we did not lock this part. So we need to go down, but we just have to lock this number. So therefore, we didn't do anything for the numerator. Numerator, right? I think it's numerator. So we didn't do anything for that part, but we changed the denominator, which is the grand total. So therefore, it still changes the number, but only the grand total is fixed. But if we fix this part as well, I just use the shortcut key. You can always put the cursor here and press F4 instead of putting dollar marks and like that. But until you get a proper practice, it's always good to put the dollar marks manually. But also you can use the F4 key as well. So I use the F4 key. So I put enter and then I'm going to drag it. See, it's going to show the same amount because I fixed this cell and also this cell. But what we need here is not a full absolute function. We need a mix of first part we need to be in relative referencing and the second part is absolute. When absolute is in the game, it's always fixed. You have to remember it like that. Okay, so it's 14% and then I'm going to drag it again and now it's back to normal. Is it clear now? Put it in the chat box if you have any problems regarding that or any issues that you need to clarify so I can help you. I don't see any problems, so I think we can move on to the next part, that is mixed referencing. So this is another data set. So for this, we have order amounts, categorized into regions. So what we need to find out is the percentage of the baby food and the beverages and the cereal percentage out of the total sales of that region for these items. So for this, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it there. So I'm going to use these cells. So let me put a color. Okay. So these data will be used in order to calculate the percentages. So what we need here is, we need the percentage, this as the percentage of the grand total of Asia. And I need okay. Now what went wrong? This part I have done correctly, I presume, because like for Australia and Oceania, I have to just divide C19, which is here, by F19. Okay, now this region I have gotten correctly. But the thing is, now for this region, it is going to calculate this amount divided by this 0. So it can't be done. So I have to fix this amount. So let's try again. I'm going to fix it. And then I'm going to, okay. Now, is it correct? I think it is correct for these values, because anyway, it has to be divided by this number. But is it correct for these values? Because these are different regions. These values should not be divided by this one, which is the grand total of Asia. This has to be divided by the respective grand totals of that particular region. So this in these kind of situations, we have to follow a different approach. So what we have to do is, we only have to lock this column, but not the rows, because rows we need to go down the rows. So we can't go this way. We can't go this way, but we have to go that way. So I'm going to keep the column locked, but I'm going to remove the lock from the row. Then I'm going to drag it like this. So it shows it is F19, right? Let me just, okay. So I think now it's correct for these column, right? It shows C19 divided by F19, which is like this. I think the calculation is correct. And for here, it's C22 divided by F22. It's correct. Likewise. And same can be applied for this. And here, I'm going to remove the column lock. And then and same as I did before, I'm going to just go there and it says F18 because the column is locked. It can't go to right from here. It is locked. Now I can just drag it down because this column is locked, but the rows are not locked. Any questions up to that? Please put any concerns or issues you faced in the chat box. Okay, cool. Now we can either go to macros part. We only have like 40 minutes. So just give me a heads up if I'm going too fast. So, because this is a little bit advanced, but not too much. So I think you have gotten the assignment number 2, right? If you have the assignment, please open it. Okay. So this is actually something different from what we have learned so far. It's related to automation. So you don't have to be a programmer or someone like familiar with coding. I mean, there's a coding part, but even without coding, you can automate your proceedings. So imagine you are an analyst and every month you have to perform same set of calculations, same set, like you have to create the same dashboard every month in the same format. And the only change is the data set which goes in, and even the format of the data set is same. So in those kind of scenarios, it's actually it's a waste of time if you do that every month. So instead, if you just create a template which can help you, and then actually I think being lazy is sometimes important in life. So if you are lazy, then you are always looking forward to shortcuts and methods which may help you to save time in life. So macros are for the lazy people and lazy intelligent people. Let me tell you that. So this helps you automate. So I think I will show you how it does. So this is your assignment, and I think I have. So let me. Okay. This is B part is the same. I want A part to format cell color of the active cell. Okay, so this is the assignment. So what we are going to do is we are going to change the cell color of the active cell. Active cell means if our cursor is somewhere, it's the active cell at that moment. So currently my active cell is C9. And if I put my cursor here, it is my active cell is E3. So I have in the assignment, I have highlighted a cell as the active cell. So if you are putting your cursor here at the time you are doing the assignment, I'm not going to consider that as your active cell, because I have already put some kind of a thick border around 18. So that's going to be the active cell. So what I want you to do is, I want to change the cell color of this cell and delete the entire row below the active cell using a macro. That means you just have to do it. You just have to figure out a way to do it automatically. Okay, so the macro tab is in the developer. Macro is in your developer tab. Do you have the developer tab in your Excel? Are there people who can't find it? Because, okay. Nilipul says no. Nilipul, can you go to your options tab? I'm going to show you how to get it. You have to go to file and you have to go to options, and then there's going to be a customize ribbon function, and then add developer. Options, sorry, you have to go to file, options, and customize ribbon, and then you have to select developer. Okay, did you get it? Just put a quick yes if you have find where the developer tab is. All right, now you have the developer tab in your Excel sheet. Okay, so you have to go to developer. In developer, there's like many functions. So this is kind of the heart of the Excel. So this is where the advanced functions are going to be, like macros and Visual Basic likewise. So we are not going to talk about the big stuff yet. We are going to use record macro function. So at the beginning of this session, I'm just going to pin it first. So if you haven't pin it, like you have to pin it first, and because it's easier that way, I'm going to pin it. And at the beginning, let me, okay. At the beginning of this session, we discussed about relative and absolute referencing. In macros, the absolute and relative term is also, it's kind of the same, but how we apply is, it's a bit different. Like in macro, absolute means whatever function you do, it will always applicable to the cell that you have initially chosen as your active cell. So it's like this. If you record the macro while you are at this cell, no matter what you do, the repetitive process is always going to be happening at C9. Okay, but if you use relative references, and if you change, like you run macro one time and then you change the place, and it's going to happen at D4 likewise. So since just to give you an idea about what a macro is, I'm just going to run it. So I will not be explaining you during the process. I will explain it later. First, look at what I'm doing. So I'm going to format the cell color of this active cell. Okay, I'm going to use absolute references. Okay, so I recorded 2 macros. Now I'm going to run it. So I'm going to go to the macros tab and I have cell color macro and I'm going to run it. See, it changed the color. And then there are like 2 cell colors, like a clear cell macro. I'm going to run it. It changed the cell color. So what the macro does when I click record macro is it records all the steps that I have done since the moment that I press that record macro instruction. Okay. Was it clear? It recorded all my steps like a baby. It doesn't care whether I'm doing it right or wrong. It just records it. So I'm just going to, there are like something called action buttons. So you can put this kind of a button. I'm going to put button here. Sorry, those are called command buttons. And then I can assign okay, anyway, there's something, my keyboard gets stuck sometimes. So anyway, so what we did was we recorded the macro to change the color and then we created a second macro to clear the cell color. I'm going to run it again. I'm going to run the change color thing and then I'm going to run the clear cell color thing. And this is using absolute reference. So that means it will only happen with this cell. Now I'm going to show you. Let me delete this first. Okay. Now I'm going to create a macro, even though I'm doing it with this cell at the time I'm creating it. I want it to change any of the cells that I'm currently in. That means not limiting to this one. So I'm going to press use relative references function. So this is how it happens. I'm going to record it. So my name will be cell color relative. I'm going to press OK. And then it says stop recording. That means my all the steps are recording. Now I'm going to go to this place. You can easily do it by Alt H again for painting. And then you have to change the color. Let's choose a different color. Then I'm going to press enter. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to our to click our stop recording macro function. So I'm going to press Alt and then developer is L. So I'm going to press L and for stop recording macro, it says R. So I'm going to press R. Okay, now we have it. So our cell 18 is now, it's colored, but I'm going to do it with a different cell. I want this color to this cell to be colored. Let's see whether it works. I'm going to go to macros and then this one, I'm going to run it. It works because we use relative references. Let me show you whether it works if I use it without the relative cell referencing. I'm going to record it again. So my macro name will be cell abs. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to press Alt H again because it is how we put a color. And then I'm going to put blue here. And then I'm going to go back to our developer tab, Alt L, stop recording, R, and it's done. Now I'm going to change this color because otherwise you will not be able to see it correctly. So now I'm going to run the macro again, and my active cell now is E10, right? This is where my cursor is. So I'm going to run macro, and I hope the E10 cell will be colored, but I run the macro cell abs. Okay, it just happened. I must have done something wrong. Just let me record some macro again. There must be something wrong. I have not used it correctly. So up to now, is it everything clear? Could you please try it? You just have to go to the developer and then you have to record the macro, and it records each and every step of yours. And then you have to stop recording it. And then after that, you have to run the macro. Just try if you can figure it out. Did it work? Nimesha asks, when we create a macro, can it be done only for formatting and other functions, or can it be? Of course, it can. It can be related to formulas and fixed cell contents as well. For an example, if there's a fixed heading for all worksheets, your problem is not clear. I mean, what do you mean by fixed heading for all worksheet?
Yeah, so what I want to know is, so for example, now if there are so many worksheets that we create, and for all these worksheets, if there is like this one heading that we need to enter, like all these worksheets will start with the company name. So can we predefine like a macro so that when we run it, like for every worksheet, that heading itself will come?
You mean like renaming it?
No,
Or
like,
like
want to have that particular heading only.
Okay, so just let me show this. So just let me know whether you are trying to do something like this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, so you are looking forward to put something like this, is it, for each and every Excel sheet, the same heading? Or do you need to rename this Excel training likewise?
No, to enter the same.
You need to enter this thing to every Excel sheet, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you can do that. You can just go to developer and then you press record macro, and sorry, you have to use relative cell reference, and then let's say the revenue data of ABC company. Okay, so obviously this is a heading, so we have to like bold it, or maybe change our font sizes a bit and underline it. Okay, so this is the headline, right? So what just happened? Okay, let me try again. I'm going to record it, and I'm going to record this as headline. And you need this to appear not only in this workbook, but new workbooks as well, right? Let's put it like that. Let's put it like that. And then I'm going to okay. So we recorded your headline, right? We just typed it and we recorded it. Now we open a new workbook. But the thing is, in order to be unless it's a macro enabled workbook, it's not going to work. So I'm going to save this as a macro enabled workbook. Here, there's a macro enabled template thing. I'm going to put this like this. Okay. Now I'm going to run the macro that we have saved in a different Excel sheet. So this is the one. book to headline, right? So I'm going to press run. Since I have put like, I have copied and pasted it twice, that's why it shows twice. Otherwise it could have shown one. That's why you have to be extra careful when you are recording a macro. If you have made any mistake at the initial step, it's going to be repeated. So in this new book, you have this one, right? This. Okay. Just try it on your own and we'll see whether it's going to help you or not. Actually, this macro part is, I don't think we have enough time to like describe it more clearly because it's a kind of vast scope. So just try with your assignment, try whether you can get with the outcome that is expected in the assignment. So what they have asked is to change the font sizes and the font type, and also delete the entire row below the active cell. Just give it a go because since this is our last session, I presume. So just take time and try to do it, and just let me know if you can't do it, so I can clear any of the questions that you're having right now. You have 10 minutes to try the assignment too. Nimesha, did you try that headline thing that you were asking? Did you manage to get it done? Oh, it's not. Okay. So this macro is, it's an automation function. So you can, if you are going to do like a same thing repeatedly every month, every day, or every week, you can use a macro to record the steps that you take when you're doing that task. So once you record it, when you're recording it, you have to be extra careful and you have to do it correctly. And then after that, you can just use the macro and let it do the work for you. Okay. So what we did here was we recorded the steps that we do when highlighting a cell, when adding a headline. Likewise, any task can be recorded. And then we can store the macro in a workbook. So whenever you are going to do an analysis, like Nimesha said, if you need to put the same heading every day for each and every Excel, you just don't have to like type it or maybe copy paste it. You can just use a macro to save the task, and then whenever you are doing it, you can just run the macro. That is the whole purpose of it. So how can we make this horizontally centered? Like, are you talking about the, that is not clear. Okay, so the macro is for that. Okay. So Nimesha, try it with, use the relative references. So that will be helpful when you are recording the macro. So what you have to do is press record macro and then, press record macro and then put the macro name and then use relative referencing and type the thing and try it with the new workbook, whether it comes correct or not. Okay. And just put it in the chat box if you can do it. I think Rotaract, I can't see the name. Let me know if you are done for the day. I'm just waiting for you to like for the feedback to know whether you have understood the macros or not. So if you can do the assignment and if you are clear about the macros and everything, so I think you will be excused. Is it clear, Netmi, what the macro is doing and all? You can put a yes in the chat box if it is clear. If it is not, we have another 5 minutes time to quickly go through it. Okay, the steps. Actually, the steps vary. Like, it's the same thing that you're going to do. Like, you only have to record it. You have to, I'm going to go to another thing. So you have to go to the developer tab, and then there's a function called record macro. This is like a screen record. So when we are recording the screen, it's going to record everything, your cursor movements, if you are getting a mail or likewise, everything will be recorded. So this is going to record your actions. Let's name this as I don't know, test. Let's call it test. I'm going to type Avengers. Okay, then I typed it. Okay, now I want to bold this. I'm going to bold it. And then I'm going to change the color. I'm going to press Alt H another edge, and then I'm going to change the color, and then I'm going to increase the font size. Oh, it's too much. I'm going to decrease the font size. And I'm going.
Hasara, you have not screen shared, so.
Oh my God, you should have told me earlier. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, so here's what I have been doing. I'm going to stop recording now. So this is what I was about to do. So I'm going to put record macro, and it says relative referencing. That means the macro will play out correctly whenever whichever the cell that I'm active at. So I'm going to name this as T2, like test 2, because the test 1 was like kind of, I didn't. Okay. This is another thing. So you can't put underscores or the like numbers for the macro names. So I put T2. So it is not allowed. Test 2. Now I'm going to type something. So all the steps that I have taken will be recorded. Avengers. So it's going to get recorded. So after typing this mistakenly, I'm going to put a color. No, I'm going to type something here. This is a mistake. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to Avengers, and then I'm going to increase the font size and then change the color, and I'm done. And then I'm going to stop recording. And then I'm going to go to sheet 3, and I'm going to play the macro. In order to play the macro, you have to go to the macro tab and then select the macro that you have recorded. It is test 2, and I'm going to run it. Even my mistake has been recorded as an action. See? That's why you have to be extra careful when you are recording. Yes, Nimesha, you are right. So if your macro is saved, then when you are trying to run a macro in a new Excel, it shows that like this. I'm going to get a new workbook, and I'm stop sharing, and it's book 6. I haven't saved or anything. This is just a new workbook, but I need to print Avengers macro here. So I have to go to the developer tab, and I'm going to go to macros. And as you can see, there's like a drop down. It says all open workbooks, this workbook, assignment 1 starter pack. Likewise, all the Excel sheets that contains macros, or likewise it shows. So I advise you to record your macro in a workbook, and whenever you are working, just keep it as open, so you have easy access to that. So I'm going to play book test 2 in book 5 in this book 6. It worked, right? Even the mistake is here, like I mistakenly typed something else there, but generally we have managed to get it. Does that answer your question? Okay, got it. Okay, cool. I think we have come to the end of our session. If you have any feedback or any kind of questions, please put it in the chat. And also, I will try to share a cheat sheet for this as well. Did you find the cheat sheet helpful, or is it like too juvenile? Like, okay, no feedback. Cool. All right, I'll try to send you another cheat sheet for that. just something that will help you, not a large note or some kind of thing. So I think we can wrap it up. So Janet, are you there?
Yeah. All right. So for 2 days, you all have been guided through a lot of helpful tips that will definitely guide you all through this digital world that we are going to live in, that we are living in. And on behalf of, as the host, I would like to thank Hasara Munasinghe for giving your valuable time, and of course, especially today. Thank you for all the support and all the valuable insight into the life. I mean, a little bit of an insight to how a business analyst would work. And of course, giving us helpful tips in terms of being an undergraduate or graduate or working in any sector for that matter. Having excelled in Excel is going to be much needed support that we cherish. And to formally thank you all, including Hasara Munasinghe as well as the participants, I give the platform to Leo Nilupul Tikshana. Over to you, Nilupul.
Thank you, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed and learned a lot from this session. This is the end of the second Excel session. Unfortunately, we have planned only for 2 sessions, but I personally hope that there should be more. So anyway, I would like to make this an opportunity to thank everyone who supported to make this project successful. First of all, our special thank goes to Ms. Hasara Munasinghe for spending her valuable time to share her knowledge with us. Thank you very much, Ms. Hasara. Then I should be thankful for the director board of the clubs, including our president of both Rotaract Club Union City Alumni and Leo Club Colombo Fort, Ms. Minuri, for doing such a good job leading us through the project. Then our designing team, Machinta, Keith, and Aparna, for making attractive flyers, logos. It helped a lot making this participant aware of our project. And Janit, thank you for leading the discussion. And Chetana, Yashoda, Kavisha helped a lot in organizing this project as project leaders. All the members in both clubs supported us in many ways to make this project successful. So finally, I should say that without you, this project wouldn't have reached this much of a success. So thank you everyone who joined for both of the sessions. We have organized the Google Suite sessions next week. I invite all of you to join to those as well, and master in Google Suite. So thank you everyone. Have a nice evening and be safe. Thank you. What do you, Janet?
Thank you, Nilupul, for that lovely vote of thanks. And like he said, please join us next weekend, where we guide you all through the Google products, of how to use Google products and how useful they are, in yet another insightful session lined up next weekend. And once again, a kind reminder, the final assignment which has been shared, you all have 1 week to complete. And of course, we will be in touch. Of course, the organizers will be in touch with you all to submit and all that. Then the next weekend, the Google products work sessions are coming up. Do join us there as well. And before we sign off, I would like to again, as yesterday, please turn on your video so that we could capture the second day's proceedings of you all lovely participants. We have Kavisha, Chetana, Sadika Deshani. If you all can turn on your videos, that would be much. I mean, you all have spent 2 days with us, so I mean, we know each other now. So oh, we have more people. Oh, if you all can't turn on your videos, please let us know so that we could. That's okay. I mean, there are people who are shy, so that's completely fine. We understand. Yashoda, Neerpul, we could go ahead, I believe.
Thank you, Johnny.
Okay. Okay. Excuse that background sound. I mean, so once again, thank you all for joining us for these 2 sessions. And thank you once again, Hasara Munasinghe, for excelling us with Excel, and have a pleasant evening with all your celebrations with your loved ones, of course. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. It was a great opportunity. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. And join us next weekend at the same time to learn about Google products, and looking forward to see you all, as well as your friends, colleagues, family, whoever that needs to know about Google products in the next weekend to come. I am Jantit Tapane. As always, stay safe and good night.